Hello, everyone. It's Catherine Maley. Welcome to this presentation called 69 Days to Reach Your 2014 Revenue Goals. This is going to be a training session, so please grab a pen and paper. You can always ask me questions. They're anonymous, by the way. You can just type them into the question box to the right of your screen. And if I haven't answered them already, I'd be certainly happy to do that at the end. I will stay on until all the questions are answered. And you'll also get a replay. So if you miss something, don't worry. I'll also have that for you. So I want to start this out by asking you a few questions. Are you still recouping from the summer lag? And have your revenues dropped from last year? Or have they stayed the same, but now you're spending a lot more on marketing and advertising your practice? And have you looked at your numbers and you see you're behind for the year, but you're not exactly sure what to do to catch up? So if any of these questions resonate with you, this workshop is going to be very useful to you because that's what's prompting this training. Many practices all over the US have called me. I work with lots of practices and they're experiencing these issues. So in this presentation, I'm going to show you how to reach your 2014 revenue goals. You're going to see exactly how you too can see a patient surge without lifting a finger. Also, how to reconnect with patients you haven't seen for a while, and encourage your patients to return and refer new patients in a fun way, and then ultimately to reach your 2014 revenue goals. So just to reiterate what's happened in our industry that's making it super difficult for you to succeed, or maybe you're succeeding but not flourishing, here's what's happening. This is relentless competition. It's brutal and it's not going away. It's just going to get worse. So as more physicians and business people enter this world of cash medicine, it increases the price pressure. And that can turn the cosmetic patient into a price-sensitive, confused, impulsive, demanding, and unrealistic customer. I'm sure you've noticed. And technology has also confused the issue. It's been very exciting to watch the advancements, but it's also made it so much more difficult for the cosmetic patient to make a decision because there are so many choices. For example, they're going to try minimally invasive procedures and delay surgery if they believe they can get a good enough result. So that's not helping, especially if you're offering surgical procedures. And so I want to back up for 1 second because what I find is my emails are often forwarded to other people. So there's a chance you don't exactly know who I am. So just in case, quick intro here. I am the author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying. And I interviewed all sorts of patients all over the US, different ethnicities, age groups. And I asked them what they liked about you, what they didn't like, what they wanted, why they said yes to you or no to you. It's really full of good stuff for you and your staff. And then I do a lot of speaking around the world, actually, at the medical meetings. And as a matter of fact, I've been to Switzerland, which was really pretty, and London, which was okay. And then I'm heading to Milan next year. And then, of course, I write for all these medical magazines. So I've been around for a long time. And that's my point. I've been coaching doctors for 15 years and specifically only concentrating on aesthetic medicine. I don't know anything about insurance patients, but I know a whole lot about the cosmetic patient, the one that's handing you a credit card versus an insurance card. So just so you know, I have worked with every kind of practice known to man. I've worked with the little solo practice in a little town in Texas, let's say, up to the top practice on Park Avenue in Manhattan. I have been and seen it all, and I'm bringing all of that to you here. So here's what I do know. The fastest, easiest way to make money, increase your consultations, and convert more patients is through your existing patients. Now, I know you want new patients, but please hear me out and stay open to this because I'm going to explain why you want to concentrate here right now in the fourth quarter. It's cheaper. That's one of the biggest reasons it's cheaper. You've already spent the time, the money, and the hassle attracting these patients to you through all that mass advertising, such as SEO, PPC, website design, TV, cable, radio. But it takes minimal time, money, and effort to encourage your existing patients to come back for more. Because let's remember the aesthetic patient has endless needs. You cater to a very hungry market. Who else enjoys this type of patient? These patients who care about how they look and feel, they've got all sorts of concerns you can address. So maybe you start addressing their wrinkles, then they move on to the red and brown spots, then their blotchy skin, then their crepey skin, then their unwanted body parts or sagging body parts, and then unwanted fat packets. It just goes on and on. And your patients who came in for one procedure are so much more likely to be interested in additional procedures that answer their other concerns. So, a patient who comes in for Botox will often work their way up the ladder to surgery. And then those who came in for surgery are much more likely to now be open to your other more minimally invasive procedures and treatments. And it's always easier to convert your existing patient, isn't it? You know the difference between that one way conversation you're having with the stranger patient who's skeptical and on guard and she's looking at you in that questioning look versus your existing patient. They already know and like you and they trust you and they're completely open to your suggestions because your leverage and your results will come from the existing patient who doesn't take more of your time and money like the new stranger patient does. Isn't that the truth? So, if you think about it, probably 6 out of 10 of your surgeries or your big ticket procedures came from your existing patients. And I'm saying this because I've done extensive studies on this throughout the busiest practices in the United States, and I have found these statistics to be consistent. 25%. Well, and here's what I asked them. Where did your last 100 surgeries or your last 100 big ticket procedures come from? The internet, from current patients or referrals. And this is across the board. 25% are typically the internet, 30% are typically the current patients, and then the other 45% are word of mouth referrals. All I'm saying here is I would put my time, effort, and money into things proportionately. As in, don't put it all on the internet. There's still a whole bunch of money you're leaving on the table, is the point. So, how do you track these patients? Well, when I partner with clients, we use a 32-point strategy plan, but we don't have time to go over all of them. So, I'm going to give you one good one. And as I mentioned, I've been marketing for 15 years. And the thing that has consistently worked and is working better now than ever is direct mail. Now, the trick to direct mail is to reach out at different times of the year that make the most sense to the cosmetic patient. For example, there's the birthday, which is always a hot time for a patient, the looming birthday. Mother's Day, it gives them a really good reason to spend money on themselves and do something special for them rather than their family. New Year, new you. Everyone's going to become a perfect person the new year when they, write out their resolutions. And then changing seasons is a really good one. What you're doing is following the patient's train of thought. So let's say right now the weather's becoming colder, so now they can have body work done because they can hide it in clothes. But then here comes the spring and the summer, and now they got to take clothes off, and now they also have a body need, to look better. So it just never ends. But the secret is to reach out at those strategic times when it's most on their minds. However, the mailing piece that has proven to be one of the best converting throughout the year is the holidays. And if you think direct mail is dead, let me show you results other practices have gotten. For example, these are actual results. Dr. C in California, and I'm leaving it anonymous right now because these are kind of their secret weapons and I don't think I need to out them. But he got 32 calls, 18 procedures that included one facelift, one breast. He also got 2 additional surgical consultations. So as we know this, because what happens is when we do it, oftentimes the staff doesn't keep following it along like we want them to. But from what I could surmise, that mailing was worth $32,000 to them. Now there was Dr. Y in Virginia, and he got 65 calls. He got 31 procedures, including 2 lipo and a bleph, and then he got 2 more surgical consults, and that equaled $56,000 of just the results that we know about. Now, why direct mail? Because you've probably tried everything else. You've probably tried redesigning your website, SEO, PPC. Now, some of it might have worked, lots of it doesn't, or used to, but doesn't anymore. And I think we can all agree this mass advertising strategy is just not working anymore for the thousands of dollars it takes to do it. Or at least it's not working as well as it used to. So it's time to start thinking differently about patient attraction because consumers are being pummeled by messages and you can't make them stop what they're doing, notice you, and act when so much is coming at them at once. And by the way, email marketing is not working as well as it used to either. Now, the average person gets 13 spam emails per day. So, thanks to spam filters and firewalls set up to protect everyone from all this spam, it's more difficult to get your message through. But the next challenge is to get it opened because everyone's bombarded by email. So, the average email open rate is only 19.9%. By the way, Google AdWords, also called pay-per-click or PPC, it's not working like before either since Google changes the rules constantly. And because if they don't change the rules, just so you know, the computer geeks figure out how to game the system. So no matter what you search for, up would come gambling or porn sites. That's why they have to keep doing this. And then there are the banner ads. They used to be so popular when they were new. But now consumers have banner blindness and they gloss over them. So here's the point. Dollar for dollar, when it comes to marketing, nothing gives you a better return on your investment than direct mail because it delivers your message straight to your patient most likely to respond to it. And you cannot get this kind of one-on-one personal private time with your patient more than you will with direct mail. They're holding the mail in their hand and they're thinking about you. That's golden. Now, direct mail has a 77% open rate. Now, remember, email had only a 19.9% open rate. So even though you think you're communicating with your patients when you do email, you're missing a whole bunch of patients who want your aesthetic services, but they aren't getting your email messages, so they're going to your competitor. So let's get to the how of direct mail. How do you use it to get more patients and increase your revenues? I can tell you one of the biggest mistakes made when it comes to direct mail, if you do attempt to do this, you typically send mail to strangers who don't know you from Adam because you think, well, I want new patients, so I'm going to mail them. But here's the pearl. The answer to more patients and more profits is in communicating with the gold mine right under your nose. And that's your existing patient database. It's full of patients who know, like, and trust you, and they're much more likely to respond to your personal efforts. So it's the perfect place to start. And to take this one step further, what's the average patient worth to you? Well, I'll tell you, I do this all the time. And here's a typical, and I'm going to call them a preferred patient. You don't want that silly little looky-loo who's price shopping. The preferred patient, who's your existing patient of a particular status, wants Botox and filler at least 3 times a year. And the average visit for that is 1,000. And by the way, I'm not overselling this. These numbers are quite low because I don't need to. But that would be 3,000 alone. But the true preferred patient that you want also wants all the new technology, this lasers and or surgery, because eventually Botox and fillers isn't going to cut it. And that's another, 4,000 at least. Now, I promise you, they have told at least one friend who got an injectable and one friend who got a surgical procedure. If you add that up, the value of that patient is $12,200. Now, here's the best part. You only need 82 of these profitable patients per year to enjoy $1 million practice. So you see, it's well worth it to reactivate these patients rather than try to find new ones to take their place. Can you imagine if your practice what it would be like if you still had every patient who tried you? It would be enormous. You would be 5 times, 10 times, 100 times more profitable than you are now. The problem is not that you are not attracting enough new patients. The problem is keeping them. You would not be in this aesthetic industry very long without your existing patients returning for more and referring you to their friends. Because these patients with endless needs are not going away. They're just simply going someplace else. I hope you can see that. Now let's get back to the how to make direct mail work for you, because you'll need to get a lot of things right. So this is where you want your pen and paper. What I want to do is give you my 7-step blueprint that you can use to execute your own direct mail campaign that actually is going to get you results like I've shown you. Now, also, after I've shown you these 7 steps, I'm going to show you an easy way to get started right away without any involvement on your part or your staff's. And then if this sounds like a lot, don't worry. I will be showing you an easier way to get this done. So here are the steps. Number 1, segment your database. When it comes to direct mail, your list is everything. You'll get a much better response if you target the most likely patients to respond to that particular message. For example, depending on a particular promotion, females versus males are just simply more likely to open and respond to mail. So test that first before you spend a whole bunch of extra printing and mailing costs catering to the men in your database. Now, step number 2, you need compelling design and a theme. Your piece must be professionally designed. It can't look like a 10-year-old did it. It's got to include eye-catching graphics that are visually interesting. That's what gets it opened and noticed. And by the way, here's a pearl. You must buy high-resolution graphics so they're not blurry when they're printed. And so you're not sued because you used a graphic that you didn't have copyright permission to use. Most of the practices that I know have been sued, or no, I shouldn't say most, quite a few have been sued because their graphic designer was using Google Images for their website stuff. And it turns out they're all copyright protected. So be careful with that. Now here's step 3. Get it opened. It cannot look like junk mail or it's going to get tossed before it gets opened. That means no mailing labels or that stamp machine indicia or addressing something to resident or dear patient. Now, as you can see, I just want to stop here. This is a 7-step blueprint. If you think this sounds like a lot of work, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of work involved in it. That's why in a minute, I'm going to show you the easy way to get started. But let me just keep going. Because here's step number 4. You've got to have compelling copy. Holidays are a super emotionally charged time of year for cosmetic patients who want to look good for holiday parties and family get-togethers where photos are taken and videos are shot. So the copy needs to be directed straight at the patient who is saying to themselves, hey, what's this mailing about? And what does it have to do with me? And what's in it for me? Now, I have taken quite a bit of direct mail copy conferences and educational seminars because I've really tried to understand copy. It's a whole profession. You could try to figure it out or not, but you really need to spell out the benefits the patient's going to get when they act on this piece. Now, here's step number 5. You need a solid call to action. That means your piece needs a great offer they can't refuse, because you also need a tight expiration date so your patients have a sense of urgency so they act now rather than procrastinate. I would have to say procrastination is probably the biggest, almost one of the biggest enemies we have in today's world. Think about it in your own life. There's so many decisions to make all day and so much coming at you that the patients say, I don't know, maybe not, I don't know. And then they put it down because there's no sense of urgency to it and they procrastinate and then forget to act at all. Now here's step number 6. You've got to alert the staff so they're prepared for the calls. They have to know the details about the direct mail piece and the offer so they can book the consultations easily. Because if you think about it, the beauty of this type of direct mail marketing is that these callers are calling to book the appointments. They are not stranger internet patients calling to ask you 10 questions. That really saves you a lot of time and money. Now here's step number 7. You want to track the calls and the results. It's imperative you know your results. And here are the numbers you're looking for. How many calls did this piece create for you? How many of those callers booked an appointment? And I'll give you a pearl here. If there's a really big difference between the number of calls made to your office and the number booked, that's not good. That means your phone staff needs some more training. So that's a pearl. But then you also want to know how many of these people showed up. And here's another great part of this kind of direct mail. They show up. They know you. They have a relationship with you. They know, like, and trust you because they've already given you money in the past. The people who don't show up are the looky-loo internet patients who are complete strangers who don't care if you care if they showed up or not. The next one is how many converted. And this should be a super high conversion rate because the direct mail piece did all of the heavy lifting for you. And then, of course, the revenues generated. And then you want to go one step further, which is what I did in my actual results I'm showing you. How many referrals and or surgery inquiries did the direct mail piece generate? So as I mentioned, we've been doing direct mail for 15 years now, and we've been sending out, I actually added it all up and I was surprised. We have done over 1.5 million direct mail pieces. We have actually executed more than 150 different campaigns. So suffice it to say, we have tested everything. Some didn't work, some worked really well, some worked okay. The point is I've done all the hard part for you. We've already tested it. We've already spent the time and the money and the effort and the hassle doing that. So there's no need for you to do that. We already know what gets the phones ringing. So before we talk about the exact details of how to do this easily, let me just show you a couple more results. Here's Dr. L in New Jersey, which is a super competitive area. He got 35 calls, 19 procedures, including one lipo, one facelift, and he got one more surgical consult. So as far as we know, that mainly was worth at least $28,000. And then another one, Dr. B in Pennsylvania, he got 22 calls, 15 procedures. That included 2 lasers, one more surgical consult, and that equaled $17,600. So here's how I can help you execute your own customized holiday mailing. Depending on your database, you decide the number of patients you want to receive this, and we'll do the rest. It's that simple. We will test 500 pieces for you for only $14.97 or 1,000 pieces for you for only $24.97. So if that sounds interesting to you and you like the results that I'm showing you here, then just go straight over to cosmeticpatientattraction.com to get started. Or you can certainly text me right now and I can get you set up. But I'm not going to answer your text at the moment. I'll answer it at the end. Or you can always email me at my personal email, which is Catherine@catherinemaley.com. Now, just to be clear about this, do you realize I'm only talking about 1 or 2 patients you need to break even or to make your investment back, and then the rest is pure profit? But don't get me wrong, I'm not here to sell you these services. This presentation today was about showing you the exact 7-step blueprint you could do on your own. So go for it if you like. But here's what I do know about physicians. They don't like to get involved in this usually because you're a physician and you're not a marketing expert. So as you can see, it's not that difficult, but there are so many little nuances and details to it. So instead of trying to figure it out for yourself and getting your staff frustrated with additional tasks they don't want to do, I decided to offer this service and make it so affordable that it's a no-brainer for you. And there are no strings attached to this. You've already spent thousands of dollars on PC, SEO, and directories that didn't work. I'm just showing you a way to get results proven over and over and over. For example, Dr. M in Texas, and he's in a little town in Texas. He got 32 calls, 25 procedures, 4 more surgical consults, and that equaled, as far as I know up to date, was $15,800. And then here was our biggie. This was Dr. M in Michigan, of all places. He got 66 calls. He got 51 procedures, including 3 lasers, 2 lipos, and 5 more surgical consults. And that was valued at, as far as I know, and I'm sure it was a lot more, was $62,400. Now, let me put it in perspective. The worst result we've gotten was $15,200, and the best result was $66,800. There might be a typo there. So I don't know the exact result for you, but I do know one thing for sure. This is a no-brainer if you want to end the year with a bang. As a matter of fact, I'm so sure about the effectiveness of this direct mail strategy, I guarantee it. If you don't get at least your investment back, we can do one of two things. I'll either give you your money back and no hard feelings, or I'll keep running this campaign until you recoup your investment. It's really that simple. So there's absolutely no risk for you whatsoever. Fair enough? But here's the deal. As you can imagine, we can just run a limited amount of these campaigns because they're labor intensive for my team to execute. Now, I did this webinar at 3 o'clock for the East Coast, and I said there were 10, we could handle 10. After we got off the phone, we got 8 right away, and I haven't even checked my email yet. So, because I've been a little busy today, but here's what I did. I ran down to my staff and I said, how many could we possibly do? Because I'm going to do this webinar again. Here's what we can do. We're going to be able to do 15 because we have to be able to execute this in the next 4 weeks. Timing is of the essence here to get you the right result you're looking for. So if you're interested, go now to either the cosmeticandpatientattraction.com website and just sign up now. It's first come, first serve. Or you can always text me at 415-377-8700. Or you can email me at Catherine@catherinemaley.com. And I'm going to take the next 7 who respond, and then we're going to fill up. I will start a waiting list, though, just in case somebody can't pull it together somehow. But otherwise, that's it. I'm going to open it up to questions now. And so if you do have a question, go ahead and ask me a question in the question box to the right, and I'll do my best and I'll stay put until I answer all of them for you. So one of the questions I can see, it's been sitting here for a while. One of the questions is, beside our own database, how can we get lists for larger mailings? Okay. In our area or a targeted area, like a nearby town. Okay. That's fine, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. That is I'll call that direct mail on steroids. You might have been a little late, but boy, that is a tough way to make a living. I personally would not do direct mail to attract brand new strangers who are in another community, unless you work with a highly qualified copywriter and designer and executor. That would take a print shop, some real professional services. I personally would say, you know what, at that point, stick to the internet. When you're going to go to a brand new town, they don't know you. They don't know anything about you. Oh boy, that would be that's tough. It's really tough. I'm talking about direct mail to your existing patients that will get you a result now, not later. And by the way, when it's a stranger, you have to write to them repetitively. People have a tendency to write to somebody once and say, well, they didn't respond, so forget it. When you do it that way to strangers, you do know you have to write to them. The stats show they need to hear from you 3 to 8 times before you get on their radar and actually get them motivated enough to call you. So that would not be the perfect place for you to do that. But if you want to do direct mail to your existing database, these results I guarantee. Let's see. Oh boy, you guys are tough. Why won't email suffice? Okay, let me just repeat myself. Email, as much as it's giving you a false sense of confidence that you are staying in touch with your patients. I hear it all the time. I say, well, let's talk about re-engaging your patients. You know, let's talk about getting them back in. Oh no, we send them emails. First of all, you never send them enough emails. They're never very good, or usually they're not good enough for them to keep opening them. They'll open a couple and then realize they're not very good, so they'll start, just ignoring them. Or there are so many spam filters because they gave you their work email or whatever the case is. I mean, honestly, the average open rate is 19.95% open rate versus a 77% direct mail open rate, which is 4 times bigger. All I'm saying about email is you're missing out on a huge majority of your patients that you think you're talking to and you're not. I hope that makes sense. Let's see what else we have here. I heard direct mail. Oh, I tried direct mail, but it was a flop. What did I do wrong? Well, I would need to see the piece, but here's my guess, because this is typically what happens when I've seen practices try direct mail. The big one I just talked about, they send it to strangers when they should have sent it to people who know them and who just needed a little nudge to come back in again. They did not have a compelling call to action. There was no big, good reason for that patient to open it, look at it, read it, and then act. And there was probably no urgency. There was probably no expiration date, or you know what usually happens? The expiration date, you have it go out for a whole year. That is not a sense of urgency. All you did was give the patient relief that they don't have to make a decision right now. And then they put it down thinking, oh, great. I don't have to talk about this. I don't even have to think about it right now. I'll just think about it later. And months go by and then it gets tossed and nothing happens. So that would be my guess that you might have missed some of those. Let's see what else we got here. Somebody's saying, I don't know this list part. Like, what do you want? What would you need? Because I'm not sure I know how to pull the list. I'll tell you what, the list is the only part that we really need your help with. The list is everything when it comes to anything. The secret to marketing is sending the right message to the right market using the right media channel. When it comes to direct mail, I'm not going to give you all of our secret sauce, but we have very specific rules to pull the 500 or the 1,000. You will know them when we work together. And so don't worry about that. My staff works with you on that part. Another question is, does this really work for surgery? You need to be clear about what's happening with the surgeries. Because of this technology, because of finances, because of life being busy and they don't want downtime, they will hold off on surgery as long as possible. Or somebody will woo them over to their side to say, oh, you don't need surgery. You just need a little laser, a little Botox, a little something, something. What you're trying to do is re-engage that patient into your practice for something, because there's a thing we say in marketing: small commitments lead to larger commitments. So when you get them back in for something smaller, they will stay for much more if you educate them. So our goal here is to get them thinking about looking good, feeling good. And then our goal is to get them to act, which is to call you and get in there. And then your goal is to be sure they know all you offer. And that's what leads them on to either surgery now or surgery next time or next month. You really got to stay connected, or they must stay connected to you, because a patient who's not ready for surgery right now is not saying no. They're just saying not now or not yet. So the more you stay in touch with them, you'll get top of mind from them. And I'll tell you what, a direct mail piece, boy, does that last a long time, especially in a female's mind. And I'm just going to say this because I believe this might be a gender thing. Somebody who sends a heartfelt, gorgeous direct mail piece will resonate with that cosmetic patient that we like, who will say, wow, he or she, the doctor, is really interested in staying in touch with me. They invested in the relationship with me because they bothered to not just whip up an email, but they bothered to send me this beautiful piece. I might even show it to some of my friends. I know I'm going to remember it when I'm talking to my friends. That's what we're trying to do with this kind of strategy. So let me see. Okay. Somebody's asking if they can have the webinar slides. And of course, I'm going to send you the slides. I'm going to I'll just tell you right now, since I've been talking, we've got two that hit it again. So the slots will fill up because I'm going to send this out again. I'm going to send out the replay and send out the rest. So I highly recommend, if this sounds interesting to you, you need to tell me now. And you do it 3 different ways. You either go to that website and just do it, cosmeticpatientattraction.com, or you text me at 415-377-8888. 8700, or you email me, Catherine at catherinemaley.com. It is a first come, first serve. Anybody who is, tell me you're interested. Tell me you want to do it. Whoever gives me a credit card first wins. And there's nothing to lose here. It really is a no-brainer. If you would just let me do something that I know works because I've tested it, I'm sure you'll get results. I guarantee you'll get results. And now here's another question. Oh, there's something coming on about, Canada. Um, Canada, we'll have to talk offline. Canada has a different mailing system than we do, so we can talk about that a little later. Anybody have any other questions? I don't see any. So you know what? I'm going to say goodnight. Please, let's work together. There's no anything that has to happen after this. I want you to see with your own eyes what really good strategic marketing can do for you. And this is how it's done. Okay. So with that, thank you so much for joining me, and we will talk soon. Take care. Bye-bye.